Welcome to Binge-Worthy, writing a compelling story,
where we take a look at some of your favorite stories and we discuss what tricks, tips, and techniques make them bingeable.
I'm Jonathan. I'm a published short story author and screenwriter who really enjoys writing TV pilots, several of which are currently under consideration by production companies. And I love telling stories.
And I'm Jackie. I'm a story consultant and sensitivity reader for Jonathan's scripts as well as for other writers. And I love talking about stories and how they can help create inclusive spaces for others.
And we started Binge-Worthy because as I looked for ways of improving my craft, I noticed that many of the free resources out there on TV writing happen to discuss the same 2 or 3 episodes, and I wanted to create an alternative, one where we discuss episodes from what many people consider to be some of the greatest TV shows of all time.
And while we will cover Breaking Bad eventually,
We almost have to, right?
we're committed to amplifying more than just the same traditional voices. So we'll be looking at a variety of TV shows, some of which you know and love,
And others you might not, but should consider checking out.
Since this is our first season, we thought that we should dedicate this entire season to discussing pilot episodes.
The first episode that sells a TV series and makes the audience want to watch more.
Each of our podcast episodes this season will cover a different element that a TV pilot could use to become a successful bingeable story.
Now, not all TV pilots need all of the things we'll be discussing this season, and some elements are significantly more important than others.
But having many of these elements present at once will definitely help to elevate any story to a higher level of writing.
Now that you know what makes us binge-worthy, let's talk about what makes a pilot binge-worthy. And arguably, the most important part of a pilot is the opening scene, sometimes called a teaser or cold open.
First impressions are sometimes make or break, and the same rules apply to a TV pilot. Today, we'll be looking at what is considered to be one of the greatest opening scenes of any TV show.
And for the record, we're saving Breaking Bad for our season finale, so that pilot's off the table until then.
Today, we'll be discussing the opening scene from The Walking Dead.
As many of you know, The Walking Dead is an hour-long post-apocalyptic horror drama that ran for 11 seasons. It also generated at least 6 spin-off shows, most of which were limited series. So, very successful show. Also, it's important to mention that The Walking Dead originally started off as a comic book series by Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore, so it was already an established intellectual property before filming the series, just in case that distinction makes a difference with what we get into.
So what we'll do now is we'll do a dramatic reading of the opening scene from the pilot of The Walking Dead,
which we'll be doing through fair use for the purposes of educating our audience.
And every time something stands out to one of us, we'll stop the reading and talk about it.
We'll focus on what makes the storytelling stand out as excellent, and sometimes we might discuss the differences between what's written in the pilot and what got filmed.
And then, when we're done, we'll recap our takeaways.
Also, quick disclaimer, neither Jackie nor I are devoted Walking Dead fans, so we'll probably make some mistakes about the show's lore, but really we're here to give our take on just the opening scene and what makes it compelling.
And with that out of the way, let's get right into it.
Okay, for this episode, I'll cue us up and I'll start narrating, and eventually we will make a comment about something, and then when we come back from the comment, we'll switch off, and
Okay.
I'll do my best Rick Grimes, which is probably not going to be very good, but yeah, we'll just switch off as we do the running commentary, so we'll do it that way. The Walking Dead. Pilot. Teleplay by Frank Darabont. Fade in. Exterior Georgia landscape, day. An endless vista, beautiful. Checkerboarded farmland, rolling hills, blazing blue skies, drifting clouds. And a highway. Clean, well-maintained, and empty as far as the eye can see. In fact, there's nothing moving at all. Nothing to disturb the silence. Nothing. Until a speck appears on the highway, coming closer. The speck becomes a county police cruiser, the only thing moving as far as the horizon. Interior cruiser day, close-up, fuel gauge flirting with empty. Reveal, the driver, Officer Rick Grimes, one eye on the gauge, the other on the highway. Unusual. We'd expect a guy like this to be spit and polish, but he's not. He's haggard, exhausted, unshaven, no tie. He shields his eyes against the sun, seeing ahead. Exterior gas station on the highway, day. Okay, I'll pause right here real quick, notably because the thing that I just read, the interior of the cruiser, actually doesn't appear in the pilot. It's just in the screenplay. Also, even the rolling landscape, I believe the opening scene is actually just filmed on a stretch of road that's kind of lined by trees. So I think this has to do with location scouting, and that doesn't necessarily getting into the writing of it all. But choosing to not shoot the interior is a writing choice. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. I think that the choice to ultimately just show Rick getting out of his car was probably a good choice for the scene that they're trying to set. Because in horror properties, like the interior of a car that's moving and functional feels like a safe space. So like showing him in the interior of a car in a place of security, might not have set the correct mood. So I think it's interesting just sticking to exteriors for this.
Yeah, like he's more vulnerable if he's like having to walk around.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting that they did show that he needed the gas, though, which was why he was there. That was not present in the pilot, at least as filmed. Who knows if it was edited out or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that in the show it shows him walking out with a can of gas shows that he's there for a reason. So it is implied. You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think something that stands out to me is how much the storytelling so far is very visual, which makes sense, obviously, because film or TV is a visual medium. But I think sometimes when folks are doing table reads of these things, it can sometimes, I guess, work against that type of writing, because folks might, I don't know, bring up like, oh, this won't make sense when somebody's reading it. There isn't dialogue, maybe the pacing's off. But I think they really kept in mind that these were going to be strong visuals, and they're saying a lot through that, just through costuming, how he's presenting himself, like you said, the gauge, things like that. So there's a lot that we're getting information about from the visuals. And so I think that's really strong and sometimes underestimated.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they say unusual, we'd expect a guy like this to be spit and polish, but he's haggard, exhausted, unshaven. That kind of thing where it's like you expect one thing, but you get another is also really powerful. Also, important to note, what we're reading here is a shooting script, so it will have a couple things like close-up. These are camera directions, so if you're actually trying to write a pilot, you probably shouldn't be writing those things in there, unless if it gets picked up and you're writing it for, like, the camera person. But yeah, just should probably mention that.
I will also add to what you said about, like, the unexpected way that they are describing him. Like, this is not how you would expect, I guess, a police officer to show up to a scene like. I also think that is, it's powerful because it's actually bringing up interest, right? Like it piques your interest, like what's going on, like this is what happened to him, like it actually has you putting a lot of questions in your mind already, just because it is a surprise to some degree.
Yeah, and I think that hint of like intrigue is really what makes this, what makes you keep wanting to watch. So yeah, I think you hit on a really, really good thing there. Okay, do you want to pick up from he shields his eyes against the sun?
Sure. He shields his eyes against the sun, seeing ahead. Exterior gas station on highway, day. A huge sprawl of abandoned cars radiates outward from the gas pumps. It looks like the world's biggest and most disorganized used car lot. Vehicles spill out onto the road and even into the surrounding fields. The cruiser pulls in, weaving slowly among the cars. Rick stops, cuts the engine. This is as close as he can get to the pumps, which are hemmed in tight. Rick gets out. It is deeply, eerily quiet here. All we hear is just the breeze and a scrawled sign flapping idly on the string, no gas, and the faint droning of flies.
I think I want to pause there real quick. He's still in his car at this point, so that's interesting to note. But we're continuing the visual storytelling where like he shows up to a gas station and there's a sign that says no gas. So automatically the out of place things in this scene just keep stacking up. And like this is a really good way of hooking your audience through intrigue.
Sure.
You have anything you want to add?
I guess like, yeah, just the, again, subverting expectation, right? Like that it should he should just be able to get out of the car, pump gas, that sort of thing, just to add to your point, where, yeah, you start kind of it starts adding up this evidence of things are strange here. Shall I keep going?
Here, we'll switch off.
Oh, okay.
Rick starts to walk, awed by the quiet and sense of desolation that surrounds him. He's noticing things. Laundry here and there, hung on lines among the cars. Old campfires, luggage strewn, empty cans, a few tents, sheets duct taped to the sides of cars to make lean-to shelters. The people who were here tried to stick it out for a while. God knows what happened to them. Maybe they moved on. But no, not all. He's starting to register it now. Bodies in the cars, corpses slumped, heads leaning against windows. Hard to tell how many. Rick stops. Jesus. People died waiting here in their fucking cars. Hard to take. The silence, the desolation, the decay. He turns to leave, but a sound. A shuffling? Something scuffing on dirt? Rick is drawn, straining to hear. There's nothing for a moment, and then hears it again, a few rows over. He drops to his belly, looking under the cars. Rick's point of view under the cars. A pair of bunny slippers can be glimpsed a few rows away. Pale, dirty ankles. A little girl. I think I'd like to stop there.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that stood out to me. You have this, like, desolate post-apocalyptic thing, and then you get the image of bunny slippers.
Yeah, definitely not what you're expecting.
Like, this is another way of keeping people engaged, where it's like you keep showing mysterious, you keep showing gritty, you keep showing dirty, then you immediately change to bunny slippers. And it's like, oh, what's happening? We didn't expect this at all. So, like, this is actually another way of stacking the unexpected, but it's unexpected in a tone that is also unexpected.
Yeah, quite the contrast. Actually, to your point, it's easy for me to get, like, wrapped up in this, and I kind of forget that we wanted to stop and comment on a couple things, because I want to just keep reading to see, like, what ends up happening, even though we read through this one time already. But, yeah, I think in line with that, when he does kind of go down to the ground, I mean, obviously that works for the reveal that you just, like, highlighted with the bunny slippers, but I guess for me it also made me think of, like, oh yeah, this is somebody that, like, you know, has training or certain instincts for, like, unexpected situations, because he is a cop. So it just made me think of that. Like, to me it feels like unexpected that he was, you know, he sees things that are creepy, but, you know, still wouldn't be going out to investigate. He's kind of taking a more subtle approach.
I will say that this is also a very subtle and clever way of creating limited information, because we know, like, because, you know, we read ahead a little bit in preparation for this, we know how the scene ends. We know that if he could see the entire girl, he would have had a very different reaction. But because he can only see the feet, he's limited in how he reacts to the situation, which kind of, like, sets up the rest of the dramatic tension here. Mm-hmm. Also, let's talk about that for a second. There is an entire car lot full of people with dead bodies, and then we see, like, a little girl here.
Yeah, even like, more contrast.
Yeah, that's tension.
I also think, like, again, this is not a genre that I'm super familiar with, but it does make me think, it makes me wonder, like, what it is that the horror element is, or, like, what is actually wrong, because I see a bunch of, like you said, adults that are in their cars, obviously deceased. I'm already starting to ask questions, like, what could have happened? You know, why these people, like, waiting for gas? Like, why would you just die waiting for gas? Like, there has to, you know, be a lot more to it. And then, seeing somebody smaller that's young, you know, being there, it is kind of confusing in the rollout of information in a good way, because it makes you guess.
Also, it's worth noting, I don't believe that there were dead bodies in the cars in the actual scene that was filmed. Yeah. Presumably it was to keep that scene a little bit cheaper, or just to keep it smaller in scope, so that way it's more of a poignant moment, as opposed to something that was big.
Yeah.
I don't really know any of the story behind why they chose to do that.
Yeah, I suppose it also draws things out a little bit more in terms of that suspense, but I guess it's a different contrast with suddenly seeing a little girl in like bunny slippers, because you're not seeing anyone in the part that was actually filmed. You're not seeing any people, so there's just like one character, and then all of a sudden there's another character. So just like a different contrast, maybe to be a little bit misleading or have it be a much bigger surprise or effect.
Yeah, I do think that because he's someone who has lived through the apocalypse that we are just finding out about, maybe if he did see all of those dead bodies in the car, he just might choose to not engage with the situation.
Sure, maybe.
So
like
maybe
leave.
they were closing up like a potential plot hole. Although I will say that by including the bodies, it does make for a better ending to the scene in the screenplay, which we will get to. So that's fun, but they probably said, well, he probably just would choose to avoid it if he saw this many.
Like it'd be a sign to run.
Yeah. But anyway.
Did you leave off at a little girl?
I left off at pale, dirty ankles, a little girl. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The feet shuffle along. Desultory. In this heat, these conditions, she'd have to be malnourished and dazed. The slippers come to a filthy teddy bear on the ground. A little hand reaches down, picks it up by one leg, and the bunny slippers shuffle on, teddy bear dangling. Rick, heart racing, knows he has to rescue her, doesn't want to scare her. He rises, weaving among the cars, camera following as he tries to catch sight of her. He comes around a car, catches a brief glimpse as she moves out of sight, pajamas and a pink terry robe. Follow Rick faster, desperate not to lose her. He comes around some more cars and sees her up the row ahead.
Little girl. Little girl.
She slows, stops, looking very vulnerable. Little shoulders, badly matted hair, that dangling teddy bear.
I'm a policeman. I'll help you. Don't be afraid, okay? Little girl?
She turns, staring at him with deep sunken eyes, flesh drawn tight on skull and bone, lips torn away, leaving just a snarl of teeth. She's got braces, clots of old decayed meat caught in the metal. She's dead. Not sick, not dressed up for Halloween, dead. Maybe we'll pause there.
Yeah, that was awesome. What do you want to talk about?
I suppose like the reveal, like it in terms of like dragging it out as much as you can and putting him in as much of a vulnerable position, I suppose, that you can, because he's getting closer and closer. He's following her. You're still only seeing the back of this little girl, and then the reveal just being completely jarring in terms of contrast, right? Which is what they were going for, like playing with your expectations of, this is like a small vulnerable creature, like maybe she's lost, like all the lore that you would put into this, little girl that's just wandering around. And I do like that subversion in terms of playing with that social expectation, and then it just makes the reveal, I think, way more shocking.
Yeah. Actually, I would like to read a couple of lines so we get Rick's reaction here real quick, just because there's something I want to say, but kind of a little bit more context. Where did you leave off?
Dressed up for Halloween, dead.
Okay. A hungry glare comes into her eyes, the closest thing we'll ever see to an actual thought. She starts toward him down the row of abandoned cars. He backs up, numb, unsnaps his holster, hand on the butt of his service revolver. She breaks into a shambling, snarling run. He pulls his weapon. A .357 caliber Colt Python. She's getting close. Blam! The gunshot snaps her head back in a halo of dark, viscous fluid. She's thrown back, a bunny slipper flying off, crumpling pathetically, her teddy bear bouncing and tumbling to a stop in the dirt. Yeah, let's stop there because that's what I wanted to cover. The scene, there's an immediate shift in power, which is interesting because that's another thing that's unexpected about this whole thing. So first of all, let's just list all of the unexpected things that happened. So he's a sheriff who is a little bit haggard and not well put together. He comes to a gas station that has no gas. There are people who are dead in their cars. There's like a mountain of cars. People are camping out, or at least there's evidence of people camping out. Then we see, amidst all of this squalor, for lack of a better word, we see bunny slippers, which is unexpected. We see a little girl reaching for a teddy bear. And then she turns around after Rick approaches her, and then we see she is a zombie, super dead. And then the next unexpected thing happens where, we would see that this adult man is, in a position of power and authority because he's a sheriff, right? Versus this little girl who, like, there's evidence of her being malnourished. Like, we would say that in a normal situation, he would have the power, especially because he's armed. And then immediately he gets scared. The power shifts, and the smallest, most fragile humanoid creature you can kind of imagine turns into this deadly predator. And he immediately shoots her. Yeah. And so at the drop of a hat, everything about the scene changed. Everything you thought you knew about the scene changed. Well, I mean, I guess like if you knew that you were tuning into The Walking Dead, you would kind of expect some of these things to happen, like from like a meta standpoint.
If you knew the comics or something too.
But like if you were just shown this and you had no previous reference, it's like, oh, like this was completely unexpected. So many unexpected things stacking on top of each other.
Yeah, I think to add to that list too, like even when there is movement, like how you were describing it being desolate and all of that, the movement is still pretty subtle. It's like small shuffling, right, of like tiny feet in these little slippers. So I think even that makes it kind of eerie because it's something that's, not very powerful, but then we figure out that it is. So I think that makes it a little bit extra eerie. But also that there doesn't have to be like this big movement or, I don't know, like something that's very flashy happening before the big reveal for us to kind of still be building that. And I do think that, again, I'm not huge on a lot of these horror properties, but at least for me, it was unexpected to see a child be the zombie. So I think that also was an unexpected way for me to see that, which again, until we see that like power shift, it's not entirely clear to me as like, being a little like horror naive, I guess, that it would be that much of a threat to him because it still looks like, well, he's larger, is it going to really be like that much of an issue? So I think for me, that was also unexpected. And for the zombie version of her to still have some amount of, I don't know if agency is the right word, but some draw to like her previous self where she would be looking for the teddy bear or respond to the teddy bear. So that also, I think...
that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, again, how this property like goes or like unfolds exactly, but I don't know if that's, something that matters with how they present the zombies, but it almost like ironically humanized the zombie a little bit more to me. So that was like a little bit unexpected. And I do think, I could be reading into this, but I do think that he was like, maybe not like hesitating per se, but there's like almost like some pause, at least in the way that we were reading it. Like, it's not like he automatically, sees the reveal and then like goes to shoot her. He's kind of like, well, they say numb, like taken aback, kind of frozen, and then eventually like responds. So I do think that kind of adds to the tension or what it tells us.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really, really good thing there. Okay, tell you what, I'll take us out. We only have a little bit left. Before that happens, we get some really interesting visuals. I don't know if any of this made it into the pilot. I'm not 100% sure, but we do get some interesting lines to read. We have the image of a bunny slipper flying off, crumpling pathetically. Yeah. Her teddy bear bouncing and tumbling to a stop in the dirt. So these very evocative visuals are another thing that an opening scene really needs. You want to try to get something that's really visual for two things. One is for the audience you're writing for, but also if you are a screenwriter trying to sell this to a production company or something, you want those visuals to be there to help sell it to the people who are going to film it. So by having like these really crisp visuals, you can help really burn the image of what this is into people's minds, so that way it'll stick with them. And I think that's one thing about the opening scene that's really important. The opening scene has to really stick with people. And the more memorable it is, the better it will be for your pilot. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, again, like that contrast, right? Because it subverts your expectation, I do think that helps sear it a little bit more in your memory. And yeah, of the different pilots that we were considering for this first episode, this visual still sticks with me as like one of the strongest ones. Yeah, this little girl that's a zombie, and then bunny slippers and the teddy bear, like just these symbols of vulnerability completely, turned on their head.
Also, it's important to mention that this opening is pretty much 100% driven by visual storytelling. Yeah. Rick has a couple of lines, and that's it.
Yeah.
For those of you at home, this is 3 pages of script that we're reading, and Rick has, depending on how you count, 2, 3, 4 lines.
Yeah, max.
So, yeah, other than that, everything has been told via visuals, which is another way to really cement the opening in your mind. Mm-hmm. Just letting the visuals do the storytelling. All right. Shall I take us out?
Yeah.
All right. We were at her teddy bear bouncing and tumbling to a stop in the dirt. Various angles. Corpses in the cars rouse at the sound of the gunshot. Dead faces rearing up. Heads swiveling. Eyes gleaming, staring at Rick. Way more of them than he realized. He gazes round. Oh shit. As we go to title credit in black, The Walking Dead. All right, and that's where we will end our dramatic reading of the opening scene of The Walking Dead. Was there anything else about that last bit?
Yeah, how that last reveal before the title card kind of plays out both in the script and then like visually, because we were saying that initial view of the corpses in their cars was not something that made it to the filmed pilot.
It's true.
And I mean, either way, like it's a really big reveal, like as you read it and see it at the end. But yeah, just like in the script, it is kind of like a bit of a callback because we got to see it. I guess I'd be interested to see your thoughts about the visual that ended up at the end of the pilot.
Yeah, I will say that in the original screenplay version, there is this one last trick of good writing, which is the stakes were amplified and they changed at the end. So not only did Rick have to deal with one walker or zombie, now he has to deal with a small army of them, and so he just runs. And that does a couple of things. So one, it tells us that even an armed man is scared to deal with these things. And two, specifically in the screenplay version, he believes that it's better to flee to a car that's running on empty than to stick around with like all of these walkers around. Sure. And so it does a little bit of world building. I think that with the version that was eventually released, I think that it's also an interesting choice to just kind of leave it at him dealing with one, because I think that moment sort of gets to sit with you a little bit, because like it's a really jarring visual of like seeing that sort of thing unfold, and you just kind of get to sit there in that moment and sort of wrap your mind around that for just a little bit longer. That feeling of unease at, oh, am I okay with what just happened? This was very disturbing. Whereas by ramping up the stakes, it's like, oh, well, I'm thinking about this now because the whole thing changed. So like, I think from a writing standpoint, I think the trick of upping the ante and raising the stakes at the last moment adds another unexpected thing. But, sometimes you just have to just go with, the emotional moment. And this emotion is, oh, I'm kind of confused about how to feel right now.
Yeah, it's like really loaded in terms of a visual. Yeah, even though this last scene wasn't exactly shown at that point in what was filmed, again, it does add, at least for me, that unexpected layer of how these zombies work, because I would, usually when I see them...
Or walkers.
Yeah, or walkers,
we should be saying walkers.
Which I guess, like, to that point, like, it's to maybe differentiate them from, like, other zombie lore or properties, because, like, these walkers do seem to function a lot differently, right? They're not always, I don't know, like groaning mindlessly or like moaning and just like wandering around like aimlessly. Like a bunch of them are, just
at least
still.
not in the part that we read
for sure,
anyway.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them could be still, which to me makes it scarier because you can't hear them coming necessarily. So there is that on and off that can make it unexpected. And then again, the little girl zombie or walker being able to still respond to something like the teddy bear, like that just makes it a little bit eerier for me as a viewer.
Yeah. Okay. So we've reached the end of our dramatic read. So let's recap what makes what makes the opening scene of The Walking Dead binge-worthy. So we have a lot of unexpected stuff stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. A lot of visual storytelling, for sure.
A lot of visual storytelling.
Yeah, and world building and just telling us a lot about, a lot of the nuances of what's going on without any dialogue. That's definitely standing out.
Yeah, and on top of visual storytelling, I will add one more thing, which sounds redundant, but it's important enough that it should be counted. Very memorable visuals. Mm-hmm. If you manage to do all of the stuff, but you don't have any memorable visuals, I think that the opening scene could still fail. Like you want to show something unique that has not really been seen on screen before to help your property stand out. And I think they did that.
Yeah, absolutely. And building tension slowly throughout.
We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, just like the pacing of it was maybe not dramatic initially, but all the little details along the way do still like have us wondering or lead us forward, even though it seems like nothing much is happening initially until the big reveal. Mm-hmm. And it also made me think of like even in something simple in terms of plot with what's happening, there was still a goal, right? We know this person needs gas. There's something wrong. So there's still like something you're wondering if they're going to like achieve during, this little intro. And so I think, all those things kind of keep us moving forward, guessing, and make me interested as a reader or viewer.
And a sudden shift in power is
that was a good one.
Is also a good way of making it's a good way of making any scene memorable. But
absolutely.
But here it was used to tremendous effect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that will conclude today's episode of Binge-Worthy. And tune in next time where we continue to discuss how different elements in a TV pilot could be used to create a successful bingeable story. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Jackie.
And we hope to see you next time.
See ya.
Take care and stay safe.